Hey guys, Artis here from Saunas and Spas, and today I was going to show you how to assemble this red cedar hot tub. This one is 1500 but by 900 tall, and we'll start from the bottom piece. To start with, we need to prepare a little bit of a platform where you will be able to freely put the straps around the two pieces together, tighten them, strap and tighten them together, and use the three pieces that the kit comes with to secure the two pieces of the bottom together. So also use a silicone before you attach them together, before you strap them together. Put a little bit of a silicone, and I will show you, around 10 mils. So this is about 5mm bead. It's not too big, not too small, just enough to seal the gap. So each kit comes with these pieces, and we'll put them like so on the bottom, ready to be screwed, ready to be secured, both pieces. Each kit comes with a package like this. It has a number of screws, a couple of spanners, and the bolts for the straps, but we'll use them later. What I wanted to emphasize is just to use the right length screws. Not that long that when you screw it, it will go on the other side. Just make sure you use the right length. We don't need the straps anymore. We can take the straps off. And we pre-purchased these treated pine pieces. They're 35 by 90, and we will use them as the supporting beams. They will go across like that, and they will also be our risers. Risers to make sure we have ventilation underneath the hot tub, and also have sufficient space to put the hand in and allow for drainage and connect our drain hoses and drain plumbing to the bottom of it. So, placing them like so will add the strength and rigidity to the bottom. Now on top of them, we will be also using additional timber which will serve the purpose of the riser. That will give us additional height from the floor, right? So when placed like so, it will give us about 80-90 mil of space underneath the tub, so we can access the plumbing features, or we can have additional ventilation just to dry it and have less moisture sitting underneath. So that's just heads up. Let's move on. You can see it is in a position. Always keep in mind where your drain is going to be, so just orientate such that the plug is close to the drain side. You can notice that how much space we have underneath. So the staves, when assembled, will give us a sufficient gap so you can put your hand under and there will always be good ventilation underneath. Check that the surface is relatively leveled, and if there is a little bit of a play, you can always adjust it later. Now there's two ways of assembling the staves. One way is we will use, in both cases, we will need to use a little bit of silicone and put the silicone on the side of the bottom, and start putting the staves together, okay? We can put the staves together and assemble it upright as it sits now, upright. In this case, we will need to use this rope, and we will need to use these tags and secure the rope to each of the stave and just go around. You can imagine that this way there is a little bit more of play in each stave, and you will need to use the rope and the tags, which requires additional sort of movement and coordination. Another way of doing it is to get the chair, some sort of a tall chair like this, or maybe if you have a working platform which is tall enough, and turn the bottom upside down and assemble it upside down. It is fairly straightforward and easy with the smaller hot tubs like this one. This one is 1500 by 900, so it's not that heavy, not that massive. So it will be quite easy to do upside down. Just keep in mind, because later we'll need to turn it the right way up, and it will be quite a heavy task, so we'll need 2-3 people. But let's see how it goes. We're going to turn it upside down and start assembling it from the side. So in ideal world, we may not need to use silicone, and it will expand and absorb the moisture and will seal nicely. Now we don't want to wait forever until it absorbs that moisture and expands, and we want to minimize that leakage. And especially here on the edge of the bottom, it is so easy just to apply a little bit of a silicone, and that will minimize and make our work so much easier. So I'm just gonna go around and put some silicone on the edge around the bottom. So in the end we have about 15 centimeters space left. We're going to use the full size stave and a half size. So we're going to fit them in like so and put the strap over and then try to tighten it up. So we'll have to undo these pieces. And try to them in. So we'll put the staves together, and there may be a little bit of unevenness. They didn't get on quite evenly. To make sure they're all nice and secure and tight, we'll start with the strap. We'll put the strap around, tighten it, and try to put every stave in its position. So we put the second strap on, and now we need just to go around and make sure that the height of this, the distance from the top of this strap is exactly the same everywhere, around 150 mil. And then we'll tighten it up. Now, when we tighten it, we will be able to see the difference, how tight the bottom strap in comparison to the top strap. And ideally they should be the same. Now that we put the straps on, both straps are tight. Just before we make it too tight, or as tight as it should be, we're going to turn it around and put it in a position where it's supposed to be, and then tighten it properly so that the last little bit of squeeze will be already in the position. Now check out and have a look at the gap. You can see that this bottom gap is a little bit smaller than the top gap. That's a good sign. That means that we had enough room in between the bottom pieces and the staves to squeeze them nice and tight, so that we have a good gap in between the staves as well as between the staves and the bottom piece. Okay, now we're going to turn it upside down. So we turn it upside down, but if you do it, guys, make sure you have enough people. 3, 4, maybe even 5. It was quite heavy for 2 of us. We needed help. It wasn't as easy as we thought it would. So now it is almost in the perfect position where it's going to be. We have only about 100-150 mils to move it towards the wall. We can tighten it as tight as it can come. And also, as you tighten each of the straps, each of these bolts and nuts, make sure you sort of use the mallet to kick and sort of hit each of the bolts to make sure each bolt is in the perfect position in relation to each other. So now that we have finally tightened the straps, and it took us quite some time, so just make sure you remember to lubricate those rods, and that will reduce the friction on the nuts and will make the job a little bit smoother and easier. Now that we tightened the rods, we can now proceed to connecting the firebox heater. So we've got 2 hoses. The longer one will go to the top and the shorter one will go to the bottom. So the easiest way to connect it is to undo these clamps, undo these hose connectors, and connect one piece to the stove and another section to the top, and then reconnect them using these clamps. So let's see how it goes. I'm just gonna go. Undo this side to secure both of these fittings to the stove. So the thread is matching. Just double check that the thread is correct. And to make sure we have a good seal, we'll get some Teflon tape. And now we can connect the hoses back the way they were. And the second hose, exactly the same way. this is it. We have tightened the clamps, and now it is all secured. The heater is in a position, the valves are open. It's very rare occasion, for the very rare occasion when you need to change the firewood heater and while keeping the water in the tap. That's the only time when you need to have these valves closed. Other than that, they should always stay open, because that basically provides the circulation and the cooling that goes through the firewood heater. If you have them closed, you have a risk of overheating and melting the hoses. So guys, it's all ready, everything is assembled. Now we're up to the benches. For the benches we have these risers, and these risers are fairly tall. So if we assemble them as is with the benches over the top, we'll probably will have only that much of a body when sitting actually submerged in water. So it's better to half them and make them a little bit shorter. There will still be decent sized benches, but we will have a little bit more depth, and it will be much more pleasant to sit in the hot tub. So let's cut them and make them a little bit shorter. So this is our riser, and the riser, as you can see, is 265. So we're just gonna go and make a half, basically cut it in half. So it's 260, we're gonna cut about 130 off. So now we made them shorter. You can see this is the final product. The risers, they're half shorter. These risers are shorter, and we added our tops and bottoms. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna assemble them in the hot tub with the thin piece up. It will be our top piece. And we will try to arrange them in the best way possible so that we have minimum gaps in between the benches, and they all sit around nicely. So we're gonna move it in the tub. So when trying to assemble the benches, try to put them all first before starting to screw them down. And what's important is we need to make sure we avoid blocking the outlet. So there's a water outlet, which we're gonna have a filter on as well. Well, we try to minimize anything on this side and have it sort of free to take the water. Just have a free inlet. Same for the plug. We'll need access to it. So ideally, we start from this end. We'll put the first bench on this side, like so, and then we go around. So this is it. This is the height you're gonna get, and you can see it's quite comfortable. So the water level will be somewhere around here, and it's actually a nice depth. Fill it up, guys, fill it up. I'm ready for it. So now they're in position, we can carefully take section by section. Just remove one section first. Just put it here. Pre-drill. And watch for the length of the screws. So this length is perfect. It's not gonna go all the way through the bottom. So now the risers are secured and we can secure the benches. And when you secure the benches, just again double check that they're all positioned properly and where they're supposed to be, so that you have a center line going sort of halfway through the riser, because you will be securing it from this side and from this side, and you'll need to make sure you're not missing timber, not missing the riser underneath. Now, before we secure the last bench on the side of the inlet and the outlet to the stove, we need to put the filters. It will be much easier to secure them now than later when the bench is installed. Now, I don't like to make too many holes in the top, because the filters, technically, especially the bottom one, will never be accessed and touched by anyone. It doesn't need to be very strongly secured, so one screw should be plenty. So the top one will use a couple of screws. So it's time to assemble the flue, and the flue comes in two pieces. This is the bottom piece. Oops. It may take a little bit of playing, trying to find that fit, but eventually you'll get it on, like that. And the second piece goes over the top, exactly the same principle.
Hold on! Wow.
Fairly tight. Time to put the glass door on the stove, and when we do so, find the pin and put the pin in first. So the pin goes like so. The next is fairly straightforward. You put the door in from the bottom, you put it over the top, and that's it. So we are attempting to fill it, chuck the hose in, and this is actually a pretty good sign. We don't have any major leaks, and the level is rising steadily. So I reckon we're gonna fill it up to this level today. So if you look from outside, this is the good sign. We don't have any major leaks. There's a bit of a dripping here and there, but nothing major. So I'll show you right underneath. There's nothing here. Here it is, full hot tub, maintaining the level, and one annoying leak from the very plug. So that plug will need to be changed. But other than that, it's a perfect job. No leaks whatsoever. Look at that. Nice. That's it. Oh, we're nearly there. Hey!